Accessing a print and or online publication by me, A Thinking Through, 14 January 2025. I'm filming this today, Tuesday, 14 January 2025. I'm Tanis Leonhardi, she, her, hers of Seattle. I'm going to think through the topic of accessing a print and or online publication by me, research areas, science and mathematics, at least previously. Okay. Sharing some of my experiences from the past. Some peer-reviewed journals publish articles open access, which typically allows anyone to access the article free of charge. As of when this video was filmed on Tuesday, 14 January 2025, I had no submitted peer-reviewed journal publications. Yes. All right, so I have a few peer reviews. So a lot of publications are available online. Some have, so like I have published a couple of articles, one marketing, one copyright laws that I did single author through the University of California, Berkeley graduate division. And those were open access in the sense of it's a website and there's no paywall. Okay. Or was not. And so there are those kind of publications. There's also, I have currently 3 peer-reviewed journal articles, and depending on if they're open access or not, there may or may not be a fee, basically. And I don't know if things have changed and kind of stuff since I like quit with my degree back in October 2019, and well, the graduate program I was in back then. And so essentially open access is like a person publishes it, and it can cost a lot to actually publish open access from the like people submitting it for publication, because you can think of it as like each time a person accesses the article, it might be like a journal, a peer-reviewed journal might have each article cost like $35. So if you want this article, you have to pay for it. And so essentially what open access is like they're paying for X number accesses of the article. So if it's normally $2,500 to publish an article, sometimes for a journal it'll be $5,000 or $10,000 to publish an open access article, because essentially that difference in price for the person going to publish is paying for other people's ability to access. So open access is like one of those things where it's like, it's desirable. For my perspective, open access is desirable because it makes it open to anybody to access and they don't have to pay. And so there's that. There's also, so that's kind of something to keep in mind with accessing my stuff. Not all of it is open access. Okay, is any of it? But moving forward, if I had enough money, if I have that job with David Beckham as an analyst and I'm doing my PhD in physics in Italy, I can then, in theory, if the school won't pay for open access, or my whatever institution, if it's an institute of mathematics or the Hunterian Museum or whatever, all right, that might be my affiliation, or my LLC with David Beckham might be my affiliation, but I could pay for it, or yeah, if I wanted to, kind of thing, or make up the difference if finances aren't there, right, for my own investment in you guys being able to access my research, right? It's about 2 ways. It's about people being able to access it, but then also me like being willing to share it. There are some people who just don't publish open access because they're kind of like, they don't want that. They don't want anybody to be able to read it. They're kind of shut off people and that kind of, and especially with their research. But a lot of the time it's actually, and not all journals are that way. Not all journals, they're like, we do need to have enough money to publish these articles. So they do need the money from keeping it non-open access. So not all journals have an open access option. So there's one thing. So open access is, I guess what I'm saying is one where you could access it, just you, anybody, and not have to pay. Then there's an article where it's like pay per article, or you can pay for like 5 articles. So there's that kind of a pay scheme. That's for non-open access. Then and you're like, what does non-open access mean? It's kind of like my age-restricted videos here on YouTube. Essentially, it's like you can click on it, and if you do not have an account or you're not of age, it'll show video information, but it won't play the video. So essentially it's a bit like that. If it's you don't have access to the journal or the article and it's not open access, it's kind of like an age restriction. Where on YouTube it'd be, you have to have an account and be logged in and you have to be of age. For the access to the non-open access journal, it would be you'd have to have means of accessing it, which could be pay or something else. So I've discussed kind of paper article, which is a form of a paywall. So a paywall just means to access something you have to pay for it. There's paper article, there's also subscriptions. So you can subscribe to a journal and like pay however much. I've had memberships for certain societies, and typically part of that will be, depending on the society, I'll get a subscription to like Physics Today, which is a magazine, to Speaking of the Past, or something I've shown on the channel, and APS News, the thing I showed for the 2018 Nobel Prize announcement, that I've showed before filming this video, and this year, earlier in January 2025. So those are examples of publications that I've been able to access because I have a membership to a professional society that comes with a subscription to a journal or a magazine or whatever the print publication is, or online. And then the last one is libraries. So when I was a student, I could search the library system and they would have access to certain journals. Not all journals, but a lot of journals can be accessed through university library systems. As for like public library systems, in the past when I was growing up, it was like hit or miss. It was so like through the King County library system, my current public library system, when I was growing up, that was one where I would search, and then some of it would be a bit of a hit or a miss, and then some journals, they have open access or they have certain articles open, that kind of thing. But it depends on one's library system. But library systems are a way to access articles free of charge for the person. However, the university there tends to be agreements that go into that. Yeah. So essentially it's dependent on the journal and the article, and then kind of the basic, is it open access or not? And then if you do have to pay, how are the different ways to access it? Those are based on my experiences, both as someone who has published both first author and second author in peer-reviewed journals. I have experience from the author submitting for publication perspective as well as the consumer perspective. So there we go. That was on accessing a print and or online publication by me, Thinking Through 14 January 2025.